What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the KMBest podcast with Gerry Thompson, your number one source for things that are tangentially, potentially related to Marvel Snap. We're going to start with Mr. Fantastic First Steps. Now, he is a remarkably powerful card that I think we should start with. I got something wrong about him. And that thing that I feel like I got wrong about Mr. Fantastic First Steps is his comparison to Surge. He's better, not worse. I thought he'd be a little bit worse, but the difference is where Surge sometimes requires you to go out of your way to get whatever buff she's going to give you. And yes, her buff is individually better than either of Mr. Fantastic's. Mr. Fantastic doesn't, which gives you a lot of surprise value, just holding and stacking buffs the entire game, and then you can turn 6 all of them. In much the same way that, like, Red Hulk is a little worse because he is showing what he is to your opponent. Like, it's not the most impactful thing in the world, but when things are so similar, it does matter. And so, like, a Red Hulk that didn't show what it was getting would be better than the Red Hulk we have. That's sort of the Surge Mr. Fantastic comparison to me.
I found the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with the decks that I was playing. And I'm kind of curious to hear from you what you thought your most successful Pedro decks were. But I basically found that if I'm playing a deck where I have like 4 or 5 cards in my hand a lot of the time, then I really want Surge instead of Pedro.
I felt like where I previously thought Surge is an 8, Pedro is a 7. I now think Surge is a 7, Pedro is an 8. And it's mostly down to that ability to wait. Like, there are going to be situations where if I have both in hand, I'm looking at what's in my hand and what's in my deck, deciding which one I'm playing on turn 2, right?
Yeah.
But I think in the absence of that, it's just so strong to randomly stack Pedro buffs, and it never burns you. Like, the thing that I think really sticks out about it is if you have cards that you want to play at a specific time, that conflicts with Surge. If you have a Cosmo in your deck, if you have a Juggernaut in your deck, if you have a Shang-Chi in your deck or an Enchantress in your deck, that conflicts with Surge. It does not conflict with Pedro. And so that largely allows him to be a little bit better as a generic guy, I think.
I do agree with what you're saying in terms of stacking buffs turn over turn is typically more powerful. It's just the decks that I was using him in were not able to leverage that because I would have like 4 cards each with 1 buff, you know? So what were you playing where he was so good, and were you doing specific things like trying to keep your hand size fairly low?
I mean, it was a lot of surfer things, a lot of buff intensive things. So, I mean, it makes sense that I thought he was really good in that context. I can understand the argument that Surge might be a little bit more generically applicable depending on what you're trying to do. Like, I think in Ajax, for example, you are probably playing both, but Surge is a little better because you have so many 4s in your deck all of the time, basically. And Mr. Fantastic is only really good when he's letting you 4-on-3, which is pretty unlikely, whereas Surge hitting a deck full of 4s, it's going to let you 4-on-3 a little bit more, right? But I think largely, I mean, again, it could just be a consequence of, like, I'm building for Mr. Fantastic, so he's better in the decks that are devoted to him. But he's struck me as, like, a very powerful card that I think more than anything else, it's like, there's nothing that could ever possibly go wrong with him. He's just always doing something good. He's never, ever, ever, you're never like, damn, I can't believe I played Mr. Fantastic. He could be a 2-1.
I definitely agree with that. I guess what I am taking away from all this is that Surge, even though she does have some deck building requirements and things that you need to take note of, perhaps Pedro has a little bit more.
I think he has maybe, I think maybe the right way to phrase it is he has a little bit more if you want him to be guaranteed to be better than Surge. Like, there are things that you have to hit. It's just a lot of those things are true about most decks you're playing, right? Like, do you have cards you want to play at a specific time? Well, he's probably a little bit better then, right? Is Surge going to clunk if you're hitting your Shang, your Ench, your Cosmo, your Jug? Well, he's probably a little bit better then. And that describes, like, I don't know, 80% of decks. Like, that's a lot of decks.
Your deck.
Yeah, it's just like, that's a lot of decks, right? Like, there are a lot of decks for which those conditions are currently being met. And not even like, are there cards in your hand that scale better with a +2 buff than a +1 buff, right? Because that's just kind of a given, right? But like there are plenty of the situation in which Mr. Fantastic is better.
Overall, I don't think anyone is really complaining when they play the
Oh,
card.
I think
It
you'd be
was just like,
wrong.
how do I maximize the efficacy of it? That was my only thing.
Sure.
But I guess if people are not trying to optimize for that or are not thinking about that, and I guess he's burning them at that point, then they have to get mad at him. Why take it out on themselves?
I'll clarify. People are complaining about Mr. Fantastic in the context of why are so many decks playing him? Another pay to win
Oh,
season pass card. I can't believe
yeah,
he's
yeah,
in
yeah.
everything.
Well, playing against it, yes. I was talking about whether or not you put it in your deck. Are you complaining?
No, I think that's actually the easiest thing about him is just like there if you need like a 2 and you don't want to think about it at all, you could just put him in there. Like they're like
It's
even Surge
generically
has
good.
like deck
It's gonna
building
be fine.
considerations. Yeah, he has like Surge has deck building considerations, Iron Patriot has deck building considerations, Sam had deck building considerations, but they also didn't matter, right? Like he was better in certain contexts, and that's sort of what Mr. Fantastic reminds me of, where it's like Sam is this card where it's like he is much better in certain contexts, and he was released into a context where the stuff he was doing was already good. And that's sort of what it feels like with Mr. Fantastic. He's much better when buff stuff is already good. Good thing he released into a metagame where it was, right? Like he released into
Mhm.
this metagame where like Brood was already good. And I was playing like a non Mr. Fantastic buff deck the day before he came out, and it was good. And so we have this shell that is already there. It makes him better in much the same way that Sam Wilson released into a world where Thanos was good and made it much better, into a world where ongoing stuff was good and made it much better. And also at the same time, outside of those specific synergies, was just your generic good 2 in every other deck too, right? Like it wasn't just decks that are using him perfectly. It's also just let's chuck him in somewhere. And
Yeah.
I don't think there's that much of a gap between him and Surge. I don't think that like a lot of Mr. Fantastic decks that aren't relying on buffs, they don't need him to be good. He's not an integral part, but he's just so consistently good.
It's just a decent value add, you know?
Yes.
It's sometimes you get to play like an extra card or a couple of your cards have some extra power or whatever, and for a 2 cost thing, that's a pretty low opportunity cost. Uh
Yeah.
are words losing meaning?
I think a little
Like
bit. Yeah.
pay to
Yes.
win in terms like, not to be old man yelling at clouds here, but like back in my day that meant something like hundreds of dollars type of thing, not like pay $10 or wait a month.
Yeah. I do think that when you come from a card game space like Magic, like I did and like you did, you necessarily have a different perspective. Not to get all like not to get all One Piece about it, right? But there's a scene in One Piece where a villainous character says something along the lines of like kids who have never known peace and kids who have never known war have different values. And in this analogy, we're the kids who have never known peace. We have never existed in a world where card games were expected to be free. It just hasn't
Yeah.
happened. Like when we come from a game like Magic the Gathering, where like I got back into Magic the Gathering in college when they were writing the budget Magic column on WotC's website. And a kind of shocking acknowledgement of the secondary market, really, when you think about it. But
Yeah.
it was all decks that were like $70 or less or whatever. It was like, here's our budget. I think maybe they might have like fudged the secondary market bit by like not including rares or mythics or setting their budget that way. I don't exactly remember how they did it, but
Yeah, I mean, certainly they cannot acknowledge like monetary value,
yeah,
but they could say, rares are hard to acquire, so we will only put 5 in our deck or something.
yeah. And so you have those are the columns that got me back into Magic in college. And again, budget like $70. Like we're talking like if you have a $70 deck that you can win an FNM with, you're balling, right? Like when I went to my FNMs, this was in 2011. People were playing Callblade. they're playing Rug Titan, right? They're playing your decks at FNM. And so and those are decks that, to be clear, one card in them costs twice as much as my deck. And so, like people, like kids who have never known peace and kids who have never known war have different values, just a different understanding of what things are at a fundamental level. So when I come into a game like this and I see all this stuff, it is hard for me not to instantly default to my values and just be like, what the hell are you guys talking about? So I've tried to open my mind a little bit and be like, okay, well, the reality is there are going to be a lot of people who would otherwise be competitive players, perhaps, if they had access to these cards, or if they felt like this was a level playing field, who end up feeling like it's not worth investing in. Again, not to be too, pretentious, but like I worry not for the size of Einstein's brain, but for the near guarantee that many others with similar brain size were born and died working in the fields, right?
Yeah.
So how much of the potential of this game as a competitive endeavor is it cutting off by having these cards that are explicitly gated in this way? For what it's worth, I honestly think that is a little bit overrated, in large part because I know many people at the top of the leaderboard who are completely free to play. Derek was free to play before anonymous benefactors started giving him season passes, basically. Jay Walla, the Cerebro player who was like ranked 2 days ago, is free to play. Like this is not something that is an actual impediment. I do wonder if it's more of a or it is an impediment. I can't argue that it's not an impediment, but it's also something that is clearly and demonstrably something that can be overcome, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I not really take issue, but it just kind of rubs me the wrong way, where it's like I don't think that this is that big of a deal, and also it is a game that you can play for free, but I think the expectation in the modern era is that yeah, you're probably not going to hit rank 1 as a free to play player. Like that is just how things work,
Right, but that's also not true. Like there have been free to play rank ones, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
There have been for sure, but like you can hit it once, right? Like you could also perhaps race to be the first to hit infinite on reset or something.
No, again, Derek was a free to play player.
Yeah. I understand. I'm just saying it is easier. Like you certainly, people who have full collections have more privilege. Absolutely. And I think that makes your path easier, especially over the long haul, where you have more options than someone who is free to play otherwise has. But $10 is the gap that we're complaining about, or 30 days? I don't know.
I think it's largely informed by a series of things, right? Like the Kid Omega thing, I think it's reasonable to look at that potentially as a watershed moment where it was just this is unacceptable. And it's caused many people to reevaluate their opinion of the season pass. Why, if I think this is so unacceptable, why am I okay with the season pass?
Fair. If Kid Omega was Mr. Fantastic First Steps or Sam Wilson or whatever, then hell yeah. Then that is a significant barrier, because $200 or whatever it was to buy it outright, or just a shit ton of time plus money. I do not have Kid Omega. I was not going to do either of those things, and I am otherwise a very friendly whale. So
I do think that it's worth asking the question though, is it not kind of an eventuality? Once you cross that bridge, is there not not necessarily because they'll do it on purpose, but on accident? They'll be oh,
maybe.
We'll they'll just mess up in testing and they'll be this card's fine. They'll put it in there and it won't be fine. And it'll just be the whole thing. And
entirely possible. And all that could just be the planned move too. We'll see.
Right. They could just do that on purpose, right? They could just next time they have a Mr. Fantastic on their hand, they could just do that on purpose. I do think that it's worth talking about. I wonder if there's a functional difference in how they design season passes, right? Because first of all, there's been too many of these twos. But second of all, I'm not sure people know what they want from season passes. When they see a season pass card that's like good and applicable in a bunch of decks, they get mad because they feel like not having it would gate them off from having a bunch of decks. But when they see a season pass card that is limited to one deck, they get mad because it feels prescriptive that it only goes in that one deck and it doesn't get to be played anywhere else. And so if you're second dinner, my instinct would be we should make cards that are generically strong and put those in the season pass. That would be what I would do, because at least that way, if people are going to be mad about something, they're mad about the card that they actually get to play. And that is how I would approach it. And I kind of wonder if they do too, because there's been a precipitous downturn in the amount of Dakins and Phoenix Forces and Gilgameshes in the season pass. Yeah, they just don't do that anymore, right? And I think what happened was, as much as people might like, there's this thing that really comes up a lot where it's like, if you really interrogate what people are saying, it feels like their actual message is second dinner should not release any cards that make me have to buy those cards.
Yeah, which is weird, because also, like, don't you want your game to have content? Don't you want
the game can have content, but that's for other people. I don't want to have to buy it. It should either be free or, like, that's what it feels like a lot of the time, having these conversations.
You can simply choose to not buy it, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Like, I do think that it's notable that...
What are they going to do? Just only release bad cards? Then you'll be like, oh, this game sucks. It has no content. You know, like, come on.
It's crazy, because that is exactly the reaction whenever they do release bad cards. It's just clowning them for releasing a bad card. And it's like, do you guys want, like, I feel like this is my mental image of the average Marvel Snap player, is that they want great cards for free, but then they want to sell the stuff that they don't want to buy. Like, I think that's actually like a fairly normal human thing to feel. It's like, the thing I want should be free. The thing that theoretically keeps the game alive, someone else should pay for that. We should socialize the cost of paying for the game and privatize the benefits, right? Like, it's a pretty normal thing to be like that. It's just, it feels like it happens so consistently across so many different disciplines of Marvel Snap. That sort of type of thought process pops up, where it's like, what should actually happen is this game should be easier for me and harder for others. And to be clear, more power to you. I think it is important to recognize the adversarial relationship between you and any company selling you something. They want to sell it to you for as much as possible. You want to pay as little as possible. Fundamentally adversarial. Exactly how you should look at it. Correct analysis. It's just, it so often gets wrapped up in these questions of ethics or legality. And I had a long conversation in my Discord about, like, what is actually the difference between the season pass, the premium season pass, and Kid Omega? And I'm really, like, trying to interrogate this. Like, what is the difference? Is the difference that it's okay when it's one? Is the difference that you're just used to it? Because a lot of what happens is people talk about it in ethical terms. It is unethical to have a card that you can pay to get that other people can't pay to get. It's unethical. It's predatory to do that. It's predatory to have cards that are paywalled. And I feel like a lot of the time, the stringent ways in which that argument is made make me leery of it, because it feels like it's applying a situation that has a lot of nuance to it, because there clearly is a difference between the season pass, the premium season pass, and Kid Omega. To me, that situation has reasonable nuance, but if you ask someone about Kid Omega, you'll rarely get an argument that doesn't also imply that the season pass is immoral. And a lot of people who are mad about Kid Omega are buying the season pass. And so I feel like this invocation of ethics is sometimes a cover for an invocation of price. It's not actually about the ethics. It's about, this is too expensive and I don't want to pay it. And
yeah.
I guess I will say is I think that sucks, to invoke ethics in a space where you aren't making an honest ethical argument. But I also think it's entirely reasonable to haggle over the price. That's super normal. If you're gonna be mad and say this is too expensive for me, just say this is too expensive for me, because, like, that is a totally reasonable critique. Here's what I would consider a really reasonable critique of Marvel Snap's monetization. they're doing a lot of non-token monetization, and I think they're doing it on purpose because they were really generous with tokens. So I think they're like explicitly doing that. That's bad, and I don't like it. And I think that's like a totally reasonable thing to just say that without being like, it's predatory. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think that you can point out flaws without throwing around buzzwords or whatever to try to like elevate your argument or how much it matters or whatever, because I feel like predatory is a word that means something. And when you're like, oh, the season pass is predatory, it's just like, again, another one of those instances where you are kind of bastardizing the use of that word and what it means. And I take issue with that because that word is supposed to mean something, you know? But I don't know, them selling a product when they are a company, like that's a whole other thing. If you have an issue with that, okay, I agree with you. You know, like that is the
Yeah.
thing we can talk about, right?
Yes.
Just capitalism in general. But yeah, I just people are not, yeah, like you said, using a bunch of integrity in these arguments where they then invoke integrity as the meaning behind it. And
Yes.
it does make me very sad.
I feel like I get negatively polarized, right? Like the more of this sort of, I guess, like rhetorical high point claiming that, like, you see, the more I'm just like, all right, are we serious about this? Because, like, I would have a lot of respect, I think, for someone who genuinely believed that and then was like, you know what? I'm not going to buy any of this stuff anymore. I don't want to support this company. And I have seen plenty of those people in my mentions. And I think that's like a perfectly respectable way to go about it. But
Yes.
I don't think I have a lot of respect for, I guess, getting really mad at something and then being like, well, this thing that I like doing, it's totally different. It's totally different when I do it. And it's like, I know I engage in a bit of that, but I don't think I ever made a moral argument against Kid Omega so much as I was like, this is bad for me as a competitive player who wants people to be able to have a level playing field, right? And at the same time, I was always pretty strict on, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to make a video on it. And what I'm going to do is not clickbait it so as not to contribute to advertising it, because I think that would probably be wrong, right? If I think it's a bad deal, I probably shouldn't advertise the bad deal. And so, like, that's why you have my Fantasticar video being titled, like, the good, the bad, and the ugly of Fantasticar, rather than, like, oh my God, 69% win rate with Fantasticar, right? Like, that's the lesson learned there, right? But I feel like it, like, in as much as I engage in the sort of necessary hypocrisy of being a content creator and also critiquing the game, in as much as you would be willing to call that hypocrisy, I do feel like there is this thing where it's like, I feel like people go beyond critique and they go into predatory. And then it's like, if you think that way about the company making this game, I don't know why you'd continue to play. Like, people say things that to me
Right.
would be disqualifying. And then they're
Yeah.
like, let me line up. And I guess it just like, I find it hard to tell if that's just the state of being, right? Because I feel that way about like America a lot of the time, but I'm still like a proud American in as much as like I am, right? Like, I'm an
Oh,
American.
I'm not.
I mean, I am an American. I like being an American. I don't like, I genuinely believe that the ideals of this country could do great things in the world if we ever for a second tried to live up to them. Like, I think that those are good.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know, I guess making good on the promise of America would be a good thing. But it's also like, I don't want to be held responsible for like everything the Trump administration does. Like, so like I
Well,
get it.
this is
There's like a
the
bit of
like
necessary hypocrisy to get through life.
no, I mean this is different in my opinion because like this is where we were born and yes, we could in theory move, but I also feel like that is perhaps a very selfish
Yeah.
out to the situation. You know, it's like I do not want to abandon my friends and loved ones here. While I just do a thing that only I can do because of privilege or whatever. It's just like that's not great either. It's the yet you participate in society sort of thing where it's
Right.
like, yeah, okay, I do live here and I don't like it, but like, what the hell do you want me to do? I was born here. So Marvel Snap is completely different. You were not born on the ladder, you know? Well, maybe you were. I don't know.
I was born in it. I was molded by it. By the time
Or
I
I
saw the
sent you an
sun,
email.
I was already a man. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually true. I haven't. I left my house today. Never again. Not happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, not happening. But
I need
yeah,
a nap badly. I was traveling all weekend.
yeah. I
Leaving the house is not great. I left for a good reason, but you know.
yeah. I will say this much. I am. I guess my thing is I feel like there's an unwillingness to extend grace in these conversations. And I don't mean to like second dinner. I mean to like the other people you're having the conversation. Like,
I think I think people just want to engage with other humans and be heard, and so they try to inflame their statement as much as possible in the hopes that they either get engagement or people agree with them because they used a bad word like predatory. And I don't think there is much more beyond it than that. I think
maybe.
it is just like they want to be, you know, if I just posed some well-reasoned critiques that were not super inflammatory and people just kind of like nodded and moved on with their lives, that would probably not get the response that I wanted. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, the tendency of spaces to move to extremes because the extremes, like, if everyone kind of agrees, wow, this is kind of bad, right? They're most likely going to still upvote the person using the extreme language, even if that person is going farther than they would specifically.
Yeah.
Whereas if the moderate group is more likely to just like sort of go with it and upvote the extreme person, whereas the people who hold the extreme view are not as likely to go a view with, and upvote the moderate person because they don't hold the same view. Like they're not going far enough. That is a moral offense, right? Whereas like a moderate person who maybe doesn't think of it in moral terms, just think of this as bad, doesn't have that same compunction, and so will upvote the extreme person, for example, right? Like I get it. There is something to it, but I guess I guess this is sort of the crux of what I wanted this episode to be about. He says 30 minutes into this episode. As someone who comes from a genuinely pay to win game, which has no other way of defining itself. Magic the Gathering is definitionally pay to win. If you want to play a good deck, you are paying money. What does it mean that there is this whole generation of people for whom that is an experience they're not familiar with and don't understand that that's just like how it was for us forever?
Well, again, I think that Marvel Snap is interesting in that you are getting people who have maybe not played a lot of card games, but who are interested in Marvel's IP. And I I think that if they ever did try to transition to something like Magic, it would be kind of shell shocking, would be my guess.
Yeah, give me here. We're just gonna. This is what I wanted to do. What's the most expensive deck you've ever played in a Pro Tour?
I mean, I've played Legacy at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, so just ballpark how much you think the deck you played costs.
Probably 10 grand.
Yeah. What about for just like a standard set, the cards from the last 3 years, most expensive standard deck you've ever played?
Most expensive. I don't. I've been playing a lot of aggro, man. You would like it, but
Yeah, that's my man. No,
maybe like $300, you know. But like
yeah.
there are decks that are upwards of 1,000.
And so what happens to those cards when standard rotation passes?
Oh, they nosedive.
They're no longer like 'cause I think a lot of people what they'll do is they'll use the fact that Magic cards are unregulated securities, that they're assets, that you're actually like getting a return on your investment, right? And to some degree, that's true. But to a much greater degree, you're spending a shitload of money and you're not actually going to sell those cards when rotation happens because the market is going to move faster than you. And so you're either going to have to sell them 6 months early or you're going to sell them at a massive discount and you're still going to have spent a lot of money.
Yeah, it's closer to like 9 or 12 months early, I think, at this point. And the unregulated securities thing is really more of a reserved list thing than anything else. And yeah, sure, you could do that. You could invest in legacy or vintage and then have no one to play with because there are very few people who also have those things and there are very few events. So modern in theory was like the thing until they started printing Horizon sets that kind of rotated the format.
Yep.
So yeah, your wallet is not really safe anywhere.
So here's a question for you. What would you say if I said, I will let you play every good deck in the game for $120 for a year?
In Snap or Magic?
Well, in Magic. I'm making the analogy to like Snap Season Pass.
Oh, sure. I mean, that is not the exact same thing.
What would you say the differences are?
$120 a year for me to have like my fetches and my dual lands is effectively what that is, where it's like
Sure.
the good stuff effectively, but you still as a free to play, I don't think can like keep up with all the releases, right?
I know several people, let me put it that way, who are season pass only buyers who maybe don't have literally every card, but they have every card they need to play the decks that matter.
Yeah, but that requires not making a mistake and like or
Sure.
buying a fun card or something.
No, like
right?
yeah, these are definitely like spikes, right? Like they are very invested players who are pretty much only buying season passes and spending a lot of time figuring out what they should and should not buy. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know, like that is an investment in and of itself. But I mean, for Magic, $120 a year, that'd save me so much goddamn money.
Yeah, like this is sort of the larger thing that I wanted to talk about because it's why I feel like I have so many of the perspectives I do on monetization because I come from Magic where my $70 budget deck goes 2-2 at an FNM, right? Against decks that cost $500 to $1,000 or whatever. And no one, not one person is like pay to win because it's just such an expected thing. The cards are out there. If you don't want to get them, that's on you. Like it's just like a fundamentally like kind of libertarian aspect where it's like freedom of choice rather than actual freedom of like reality, right? Like it's
not pay to win. It's just that there is you must be this tall to ride sort of thing to get into the game store and have a deck to sign up for the FNM with or whatever, right? But like there are people sitting at home who would love to play but don't have any cards or don't have a car or have obligations, whatever. And it is pay to play in a lot of instances.
I mean, it's literally pay to play. You pay to enter the tournament. Like
yeah, I mean also that, but like hey, you get a booster pack for signing up, so.
But like that is just like it's just not an expectation that I have that I would be able to have all the cards free to play or most of the cards free to play or really any kind of experience that is anything other than getting trounced with my budget deck. Again, remember, budget deck $70. What if I make another budget deck $140, right? I guarantee that the decks I can play in Snap buying the season pass for a year are going to be better relative to the format than those budget decks were at the time. And if I bought two, and trust me on this, I've made more than 2 budget decks. My biggest Magic mistake is always buying a bunch of budget decks because I just love the idea of having them rather than just a good deck actually, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Saffron Olive has ruined me.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. He got me back into Magic in 2017, I want to say, which is what precipitated me playing Hearthstone, because Hearthstone, I tried to download the Magic Duels of the Planeswalkers thing, and my phone was so old that it couldn't do it, but it could run Hearthstone because I was like taking a training module at work for like a month, and I just had so much free time. So I was like, I need to do something on my phone because they just aren't giving me enough stuff to do. And so that is how I started playing Hearthstone. That's the first card game I ever got good at. Then Magic Arena came out. I switched over to Magic Arena. I hit rank 1. I made a Twitter account. I started streaming. I met you. You got me the invite for Snap. Now I'm here. All of that is to say, it doesn't happen without Saffron Olive posting a border post white mid-range deck in probably 2017 that I probably still have. It all 60, 75 or something. So that all a fact.
Well, you got all those unregulated securities chilling in your closet, man.
Ask me how many times I played that deck.
I'm guessing 0.
Exactly 0. Yes.
Yeah.
I have played 0 games of Magic in the last, I don't know, probably 8 years. And I have definitely bought Magic cards in the last 8 years.
Did you goldfish it at all? Did you get any use out of it?
No.
No?
Ask me how many unopened TCG player packages are in my house.
Oh my God.
Don't buy from TCG Player, by the way. They did some union busting, I think. Or did that get resolved?
I mean, it did, but I think them hiring fake Pinkertons is still pretty bad.
They did what?
Oh, you did not know this?
I just knew that there was like a union conflict that was ongoing.
Yeah, they were going to close the Syracuse plant and then open one up in Kentucky because the minimum wage was lower. And that also meant that a lot of people would not change locations so that they could just lay off all the evil people who decided to try and unionize. And then they hired some, Pinkerton-esque folks to go to the Syracuse location and basically just like rough up people and make sure that they were doing their work.
So, like, rough up meaning, like, is there a dude like just dressed in a trench coat with sunglasses punching you in the face?
Yeah.
Damn. How do I get that job?
Sort those cards.
How do I? Oh my God, that's a dream job.
I don't know. Message the fine folks at eBay/TCG Player.
Oh my God. I get to punch nerds in the face and get paid. What a goated profession that must be.
I do wonder, there are just, some weird crossover things that I think of where it's like, I wonder if like Trevor Humphreys has that job, the Underground Dojo keyboard cage fighters guy.
That would be a great job for him to have. That he could get his revenge.
I feel like he would love that job.
Yeah, he could get it. Yeah, he could finally. Well, okay, hold on. Because I feel like if he says Underground Dojo, I realize probably referencing the website in this case, but that might be lost on many people. What if he was actually referencing an underground ring of cage fighters who played Magic the Gathering? What if it was like Fight Club?
Only online because they all have keyboards?
No. That's like a weapon.
So it's like chess boxing.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll take it that direction, sure. It's like chess boxing. What it is it's a match of Moto and then a cage fight. And during the time that you are using the timer, your opponent gets to just like kick you in the head.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. So like as long as it's your go, if you have to like combo off, your opponent gets to combo off on your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They get to hit you with the old 1-2 while you're trying to hit them with the old tap on tap. We should do
Sounds
that.
Legit.
The Trevor Humphreys Memorial Keyboard Cage Fighting League.
Trevor shows up and he's like, "Guys, I'm not dead."
That's not the point. It doesn't matter. It's like the Wade Boggs thing from Always Sunny. It's like Wade Boggs isn't dead. Rest in peace, Wade Boggs. You know, yeah. Just a sad day to lose a man like Trevor Humphreys, right? Who was the genesis of so many brilliant ideas, like shuffling your opponent's deck so they all had lands on top.
Yes.
Was that him?
I mean, he did do that, but he was like the 7th person in a long line of cheaters to do that.
I never understood how that one even worked.
The 7th person who got caught.
How does that even work? Like, how do you do that without looking at your opponent's deck? Or do you just look at your opponent's deck?
You do, but you try to like obfuscate it, like make it look like you're not looking at their deck, or you could like wear a hat down low, kind of like cover where your eyes are, you know?
That actually, there is that look that you have going on right now. That seems like something someone would actually do. Like, just do that and like that and sunglasses. And then it's like, you can't see that I'm looking at your deck as I hold it, like facing me.
Yeah, I mean, like you can hold it, like just do a side to side shuffle, right? And kind of like angle it a little bit to where you can like sort of peek. But then you have to be able to like peek and also, you know, just like drop a card on top without it looking obvious and be able to like continually do that. I mean, it's not easy.
Did any of those guys ever write tournament reports like Betcher or Humphreys or like Mike Long?
I mean, Mike might have written some stuff, but it would have been
Alex
way back in the day. I mean, Alex wrote a little bit, yeah, but it was never like my opponent mulled to 5, my opponent mulled to 5, my opponent mulled to 5.
That's what I want.
Like
I want.
The best is the Jared Betcher stuff. If you go back, there's like 3 or 4 reports in a row where it's like played against Jared Betcher and mulled to 5 twice. And it's just like all the people say that, right? And that was a thing that got brought up after the fact, after he got caught, where they're like, oh yeah, it does seem like everyone who played against him just mulliganed a bunch, but like never talked to each other about it, which is kind of nice because back in the day, like early 2000s, like way back, if you know you played against someone and something bad beated you, like, oh, I mulled to 5 twice, like you would complain about it. You would maybe even embellish the story a little bit and say you mulled to 4 twice, right? But the community was such in like, you know, the mid 2010s where it was like, oh, I lost to Jared Betcher, but like you just don't even say anything, even if you got really unlucky. You're just like, well, that happens, and I hope that I have been able to learn something at the very least, but I am not going to baby whine about it. And then that led to just all these people being able to cheat people because no one talked about how they just mulled to 5 all the time.
Do we have, you know how last time we talked about like the various like slur adjaces that Magic players made up in the early 2000s? The
slur of jaces? Slur adjacent?
Yes, slur adjace.
Yeah, okay.
I abbreviated adjace. I'm not talking about a slur of jaces, which would probably just be mind sculptors. But I do like the idea that like a group of jaces would be referred to as a slur. I'm playing a slur of jaces in my deck. He's like canonically not even close to being racist, and probably the character that is headcanoned the most as trans by the Magic community. However, the concept of a slur of jaces is still very funny.
He does marry, or at least like dates a Gorgon woman, so
yeah, but like I don't know. I don't really feel like that's racial. Like per se.
You don't?
It's more like it's an alien, right? Like that's not like
is that not a
I
not
guess
a race? Like she's humanoid, she's like green.
Yeah, I mean she has like snake hair. That's like a kind of a different thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying like he's not racist. I'm agreeing with you.
Sure.
Like I feel like I don't know, how could you be racist like, oh, I hate black people, but green women with snake hair are okay, and that doesn't count. That does not like
actually think that
my racism.
You are describing a shocking amount of anime fans right now.
Okay, fair.
You are describing so many actual people on Twitter.com. That is fair. I think that description, you could win a presidential election with the coalition you just created.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, I was gonna say, how do I get them out to vote? But then I realized how.
Yes.
I think that is mostly an online thing. I think
Sure.
that if there were green snake-haired people, they would probably not like them, especially if someone said that they were taking their
That's
jobs.
probably that is probably true. I actually like shout out again. I've done this shout out before. Shout out to the Allison Lurs Jace Vraska Ixalan story. Really good. An incredible peak of Magic storytelling that was immediately followed by, and I don't mean offense to the writer here because I'm sure they had editorial here. Just like nostalgia slop in the Dominaria story. Like it was just like let's do Avengers, but with all the things you remember in a Magic context. In the Dominaria story, it was terrible. It was literally just a demon named Belzenlock who coincidentally matters to Liliana's quest, doing all the bad stuff. Like he went out and he lived. Guess where he lived? He lived in the Cabal Fortress on Oteria, but he had the skyship Weatherlight. Remember that from the Weatherlight saga? He had the Black Blade. Remember that from Dakon Blackblade? Like he had all the stuff that you remember from Dominaria. And he was like, I am the bad guy. And then they teamed up and beat him. That was it. That was the story. And so it came like directly after this like fairly heartfelt examination of Jace as a character who overcompensates, of Jace using his brains to sort of compensate for his own insecurities, of very relatable to a card game character who finds love for the first time as he finds himself for the first time after being marooned on a desert island with a Gorgon lady. Great story, immediately followed by, remember this? I'm the bad guy and I have it. Like,
sometimes I feel like they're like, all right, we're gonna do this thing, and then someone else is just like, okay, well, I'm up next and I'm gonna do this thing, and there's no through line there. You know, there's
what it
no
felt like.
Yeah, there's not a lot of planning in a lot of instances. Sometimes there is, and it's really good, but yeah.
You go straight from that to like decidedly male, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, wow, that's the quality varies dramatically. But that is all to say, like, coming from Magic, we're the kids who have never known peace. We've never known a world where there weren't people like Betcher or Alex or these guys out here. Like, part of the reason I don't like going to physical Magic events is because you don't have to run the risk of running into those fucking people. You don't have to think about it, right? I don't have to consider whether or not my opponent may have been cheating if I'm playing online, which incidentally, becoming a streamer has removed that security from me. But whatever, it's still just like a thing that is like a mental load that you have on you. I don't even have to consider whether spending money to own cards in a card game is ethical or predatory. It's something I've been doing for like 20 years, right? Like, it's just what the industry is. And so I don't want to poo-poo the people who want the industry to be better, because I do think that like card games sort of exist in what we describe as like a sort of libertarian frat bro mindset a lot of the time, where a lot of the stuff that's taken for granted is this genuinely fairly ideological, you have the freedom to not participate kind of crap, right? Where it's not a conversation of actual freedoms. It's just, you know, I wish you guys were like socialists about stuff that wasn't just card games, you know? You should be like socialists in real life, you know? Like
I definitely agree with that. And I also want to note that I like the big takeaway here from me should not be that you should not critique things. I just think that if you are going to critique things, and anytime you communicate in general, I feel like you should be communicating with a purpose. And depending on what that purpose is, that should influence how you go about communicating. And say, for example, your goal is to make this game less quote unquote predatory as you view it. What is the best way to go about that? And I think if people think about it from there, they would not be doing the things that they are doing, just like saying things that are inflammatory and just releasing them and like hoping that that does anything. It's like, no, there are better ways to go about it, certainly. And I think the Kid Omega thing is a great example of this, where it's like, yeah, this should probably not be the normal operating procedure for a lot of different reasons. But when you then take that instance and I don't know, start making comparisons to the season pass also being predatory, I feel like that kind of cheapens and weakens your argument against the Kid Omega stuff in the first place.
Right. Like, I think Kid Omega is like really easy to point to because it's the worst monetization they've ever done, and it was also implemented badly. Right. However
Nexus event's the
bad,
worst.
sure. However bad Kid Omega was, it was presented even worse than it was. You click it, sticker shock, bang. You think that you might be able to actually earn that amount of credits, but then you do the math, bang, you can't do it. Or you don't do the math, and then you're like, oh my God, it's the last day. Let me spend gold, pressured. I think that actually is predatory. I think it actually is a little bit predatory not to put a real price tag on something. Like, I think that, like, if you want to talk about things that are predatory in games, currency obfuscation is legitimately a predatory mechanic. Like, that is bad. It is bad. And
Snap does that.
Snap absolutely does that. And I think that when you really get down to like what I consider the difference between Kid Omega, Fantasticar, and the season pass, it's the obfuscation of it. Kid Omega felt designed to put you in a situation where you were done with the event, but didn't have enough to get Kid Omega, and you were like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this. I need to spend nebulous amount of money on gold or charms or whatever to get it." Right? That, especially not telling you that you won't get 50,000 through there, right? The final reward on the thing being unlocked at 25,000 volts. I know people that thought that meant they got 25,000 volts and thus Kid Omega, right? Like, all of that stuff's bad. Like, that is stuff I have no objection to calling predatory. But I feel like most of the predatory nature of it comes from the obfuscation of the currency and the weaponization of that obfuscation in the form of FOMO, where I have far less objections to, like, this is $10, it is a card. I just have way less objections to that.
That's pretty upfront. And also, it is the best value of things that you can buy because you are also getting a bunch of other stuff on the rewards track.
Yeah, which sort of does beg the question, like, what about Fantasticar? Which we haven't talked about much at all, because despite some, I don't know if I would call it fear-mongering, I saw some people like, whoa, they should not have given High Evo a Silver Surfer. Fantasticar's busted. It's like, I don't think that deck is very good. It has the profile. I will say this for the High Evo deck. It has the profile of a deck they would nerf despite it not being very good at High Elo, because it's just like a very, autopilot-y deck. You do some stuff, the things happen, you don't have to think very hard about it. It's very Surtur-esque. But I don't think it's very good. And what I'll tell you what I don't like about Fantasticar specifically is that it hooks into High Evo. Because High Evo for me is like the budget player's deck. Cheapo.
Yeah.
Cheapo deck. And now it has a hard paywalled card in it. And it's like, okay, that sucks. Like, of all the archetypes, right?
Here's the thing, though, is I think if I were making a game, I would do this, where I offer you a budget deck, and then I also offer you a paid way to upgrade it if you so choose.
But it's not really playable without that upgrade.
Well, right. I feel like High Evo was a budget deck 2 years ago.
Yes.
And it should have gotten some upgrades either in between, then and now, or there should be a new sort of like budgety deck that exists.
It was RSM for a little bit, but
yeah, I was gonna say RSM is like the best example of that, probably.
Yeah. I actually feel like cards like RSM and Thanos and Evo, I feel like they are very important in a world where they're not going to do like precons or whatever. And there are precons in Grand Arena, and I know my Discord has been speculating around like, ooh, we're going to get precon. Maybe they'll sell some of these precons. I consider that pretty unlikely, largely because the barrier to them selling precons was not, we don't have any lists to sell. Like, the barrier to them selling precons was not, oh, we don't want to, like, the barrier to them selling precons is a lot of the cards in those lists are cards people are already going to own. So, like, what are we actually selling? Is it actually just 3 Series 5 cards in a bundle? And then how do we price that to make it not look horrendous and not give away the currency obfuscation game? Which is, again, like, it is, the thing about Marvel Snap that I dislike the very least is the amount of currencies. Like, 100%.
Yep. And not super easily transferable and like not at good rates or anything too.
Yes, I think a lot of Kid Omega being hated as much as he was the fact that you couldn't spend tokens on him. I think a solid majority of the people complaining about Kid Omega were not complaining about the principle of Kid Omega, but were complaining that they did not have enough gold to spend on him.
Yeah.
And that is a consequence of this like constant obfuscation of prices, right? That's what's going on, right? Like that is I think the thing that is like perhaps the most objectionable behavior Marvel Snap engages in outside of Nexus events, I suppose.
I really don't like how the amount of credits is capped also.
Yeah, that does suck.
Like that feeds into it to me, where it's just like it is currency obfuscation, but also like, oh, even if you wanted to save this for a later date because it might become more valuable, we're not going to allow you to do that. And I don't know of any single game that does that unless you're talking about like, stamina caps, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't understand why credits are capped. I think the original reason might have been to prevent people from scamming the CL track. Back when you could just scam your matchmaking by making sure you only saw Series 2 people. And so people would just not level up past that. I remember that being a thing way back in the day.
Okay. But then maybe once you get to Series 3, you uncap the credits thing.
Yeah, I think that would be a pretty good idea. I think that, to be clear, that strikes me as a pretty spurious reason to cap the credits. I think the credits are capped because they wanted to cap the credits. Like, I think that's like an ex post facto justification. I think the credits are capped because it is like a dark pattern thing. You got to spend. Sorry, dude. If you want to get more free stuff, you got to spend. But yeah, like I think on the whole, there's plenty of reasonable places where you could call Marvel Snap predatory, and I think Kid Omega showed the worst of the game. I'm just not really sure it's the same level of predatory or even something I would use the word for when they say, here is $10, this is a car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that's my issue. It's not the underlying critique of even like the battle pass in general or the season pass or their monetization or anything about them. It's like, by all means, criticize them, but like do it in a way that is actually constructive and meaningful and doesn't like it isn't reductive to, things that are actually bad.
Yeah, I think there is a sort of strategy of arguing in, I won't even call it the modern era. It's the goal is to make the accusation so heinous, so diffuse the accusation before actually addressing the points. And that sort of paints them as guilty of the accusation just by virtue of addressing it. And this rhetorical
immediately
technique
puts them on the defensive.
Right. And this rhetorical technique is a little, it's odious and it's not really how you want to have a conversation. But I totally understand people looking at a company and being like, why the fuck would I have a conversation with a company? Corporations aren't people. And to those people, I say, vote for Zoran Mamdani. That's to those people I say, look into your nearest chapter of the Democratic Socialists. Like, keep that energy that you have towards these corporations and apply it to the politicians who work for these corporations, who make it easier for these corporations. I would strongly. I got like, we probably got like a minute left in this podcast, but I just want to say, shout out Zoran Mamdani, but more than a shout out to Zoran Mamdani, shout out Eric Adams, who is the single funniest man alive. He is staying in the race.
What did he do now?
I mean, like, just go to his Twitter account. But like the one I want to talk about is he posted like a wake up with me or like a get ready with me video, and he lied about the time that he was doing it at. So it was like 9:01 a.m. But in the background, the clock says like 11:50. It's just like he's so cool, man. Like he is the coolest man alive. He needs to stick around. I need more Eric Adams content. I want him on a reality show. One of my friends who will remain nameless, but may actually, I am fairly certain is a listener to this podcast, suggested that Eric Adams drop out of the race to become Shadur Sanders' agent. I think that is an exactly perfect epilogue for that man. NFL agent Eric Adams, make it happen. Eric Adams should be starring in Ballers, but like in real life. He should be the Rock character in Ballers. Like,
I would love that.
he's so unbelievably funny. Just lying about the time in your TikTok or whatever to make it look like you did like a rise and grind. What's up, guys? Eric Adams here. It's 9 a.m. I'm grinding, and you couldn't even be there at 9 a.m. You couldn't even do 9 a.m. I'm a streamer. I've done 9 a.m. You're the mayor. Like, he's 11:50. Let's lie about what time it is.
Well, you see, he's been up since 6. He was just doing important stuff till then. That was the first time free that he got.
So funny.
Surely.
So cool. So, shout out to the general politics and demeanor of Eric Adams. I have full endorsement for everything Eric Adams wants to do in his life. If he runs for president, I will die in the Eric Adams army, which I will form. That is my.
You get ahead of it. You could encourage him.
I did get ahead of it. In 2 hours, I'm going to say I'm forming the Eric Adams army, and then I'm going to date it 3 days ago. Yeah,
perfect.
Like, I actually already did it. You just don't know because I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, word.
Right. All right. I'll thank you so much for listening. I know this was a little bit of a shorter episode today. Let us know how you felt about the more condensed format. I've been KMBest. He's been Gerry Thompson. We'll see you in the next one.